All right, and welcome to the latest episode of Real Reviews, where we sit down and review movies every week on this show. And I got a surprise for you today. This does not happen often. Travis Hobson, who is my cinematic partner in crime. This brother and I on WETA together. We used to do Addicted to Film together. We hosted shows together. I used to do Cinema Royale back when I was sexy. Don't call me no more. But Travis, man, hey, bro, I'm glad that you can do this, man. I know, you are a busy man. I see you got a Sundance badge around your neck. It looked like you was about to hit the streets. But
we're in the same place. So.
Hey, for the purposes of the public, they don't know that. All right. So let's jump right into it, man. All right. So up first this week is ISS, Travis. And of course, ISS is the story that centers on a group of astronauts and cosmonauts living aboard the International Space Station. Now, tensions flare as worldwide conflicts break out on Earth. Now, reeling from this, the astronauts receive orders from the ground, take control of the station by any means necessary.
From all of us down here in Mission Control, welcome to space.
The Russians always knock 3 times. I think it's just a superstition.
Down to Gonky Park, listening to the wind of change.
Wow. I've seen pictures, but this is...
We don't talk politics. Here we're one.
Hey, guys.
Wait a minute, what the hell is going on down there?
Oh, whoa.
We gotta get up now, guys.
Let's get out.
Oh, my God.
Houston, do you read?
War has broken out below. And we were told to take the ISS by any means necessary.
If we got orders from our government to take control,
What do you suggest we do now?
Did you ever think that we could be so close?
the Russians got the same orders as us.
And they just struck first.
Struck first. Mutually, we're evolved species.
Travis, I had an opportunity to sit down with the writer, or actually the director of the film, Gabriella Copperthwaite. I always have to say her name really slowly so I don't mess it up. I'll start with you, man. What did you think about International Space Station, aka ISS?
I really wish I liked it more than I did, because I think the premise is fantastic. I kind of love those contained thrillers like that. You got these people in the space station, can't really go anywhere. They're stuck together. And you got in this sort of Cold War breaks out between them. You got the Russian side and you got the American side. And I love that premise. You got Ariana DeBose in it. You got a really great cast. John Gallagher, Chris Messina, Pilu Asbak from Game of Thrones. Really great cast altogether. But I felt like it didn't give itself enough time to properly let the tension build. The movie's only 90 minutes long, and you've got all these people in one place, and the tension never gets to ratchet up the way it really needed to. It really needed to cook and simmer for a while, and it really needed to. But it ends up kind of moving along from beat to beat really fast without anything really settling in. Like I wanted to feel that claustrophobia of being there in that space station, which looks big on the outside, but on the inside with these people, it looks really confining.
Right.
But it did not give itself enough time to let that feeling truly sink in, and I think that becomes a problem. The final act of the film also, as they try to rush everything to a conclusion, isn't particularly great either. I just feel like it's a premise that was really a really great idea. Gabrielle Cowperthwaite, I think, is a fantastic director in general. She did Blackfish and Megan Levy and that film Our Friend with Jason Segel from a couple years ago. She's a really good director, but I don't think she was given the resources to make this one as good as it could have been.
Man, you know what, bro? As a guy that loves you, outside of your comment about the third act, I could not disagree with you more, man. I mean, I understand. No, I mean, but and I'll explain.
Yeah, I know other
think
people liked it.
So I think part of what I got out of it immediately, right, is that you're talking about a budget where the lion's share of the budget went into the FX, right? Went into all the special effects. So at its core, when you talk about it being confining, it takes place in like a couple of small compartments on the International Space Station. So that wasn't a problem to me. The fact that you talked about that it didn't boil enough, I got it that, you know, essentially Ariana DeBose, who the story goes through her perspective, is pretty much kind of new. And, you know, you see the three Russian cosmonauts and the 3 American astronauts, which DeBose is one of the Americans, have this kind of relationship where they're on close quarters, they're all getting along, they hang out, but at their core, you've got Americans, you've got Russians, right? And everything is all good, as Travis said, until there is nuclear war on Earth, right? And at that point, both governments are like, take this ship by any means necessary. And suddenly all that goodwill that's been built up now turns adversarial. And to your point, Travis, I thought the tension in it was ratcheted up immediately in a way. I mean, let's be real about it. We always sit around and complain that movies are too long, right? Why has every movie got to be 2.5 hours? This one, she tried to amp it up, I think, for the time period that they had. I thought it was adequate, right?
Okay.
Could it be longer? Sure. I would sign up for a longer boil. But I think the way that the story works out is it is very adequate for what she's done. And I love the performances because, again, it gets to a point where you don't know.
Do you love DeBose's performance too? Because one of the things I wrote in my
DeBose's
review
performance
is
to
that
me is
it's a very uncharismatic role.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that.
think-
I don't think her performance is
I don't think it's
really
the
good.
best fit for her.
Chris Messina, I thought was really, really good. And I forget the Russian guy who, you know, we don't really understand what his motives are. We assume his motives not to be positive. But all in all, I would agree with you that I did not like the third act of the film, but the first 2 acts of it, I think, worked pretty well. And I explained to Gabriella that, you know, this shows real growth as a filmmaker. She continues to get better. So having said all that, Travis, it sounds like I'm a little higher on the film than you are. Is that you feel that's correct?
Yeah, you're definitely higher on the film than I am. I don't necessarily think it's it's not like it's an awful movie, right?
Right.
It's a movie that I feel like doesn't reach the heights that it could have. And I think it's more disappointing than bad. Let's put it that way. I think there's a lot more potential in this movie if it just had 15 more minutes. Like if it just had a little bit more time. There's that moment where the Americans get the order from the ground. And that really should have been a moment that we could settle in and really feel it as they contemplate the consequences of what it means. At that point, we don't even know if the other side has gotten those similar orders. We don't know anything. They don't play around with that enough, I think.
Okay, but when we find out that the other side has, and you start to see that, you know, everybody's huddling to their little circles, like the cosmonauts are going into their circles, the astronauts are going into their circles. That didn't work enough for you? That you didn't feel that?
No, I didn't think they did nearly enough with that. And plus the fact that both sides have relationships that are intermingled, like Messina's character with the woman on the Russian side. You have people who are friends, and we don't really get to play with those dynamics. So I think there's a lot more they could have done with that.
I got you.
But they have to move
Oh, go ahead.
They have to move on to, bad stuff happening before they can really do that. They don't have enough time to really let that stuff sink in.
So from a grade standpoint, what are you giving this film, man?
What do we? If I was on our scale of 5, I gave it a 2.5.
So if we were talking about a scale of
Of 1 to 10, it'd be a 5.
so if we were talking about on an alphabet scale.
An alphabet scale would be like a C.
Damn, I love how you have all your scales down, man. You good on scales. All right, I was gonna give it a C plus. That's where I sit.
Okay.
So we're similarly in the same place. I told you I agree with you about the third act. I thought that the film, for what it was, with the time that it took, I thought it worked. So of course,
I'd like to know if there's footage that Gabriella had to cut out. I'd like to know if there's like a longer version of this movie somewhere out there. I'd like to know that.
okay. All right. Well, ISS, of course, International Space Station, is in theaters this weekend. C plus. We'll check it out. You be the judge. All right.